Here. All right. Well, welcome back. My name is Dawn Bennett with Touch Remedies, and I'm here today with Denise Bender. Denise is hashtag the dinner doctor. She does that through her Tastefully Simple business. She's also well known as the managing director of the founding chapter of the networking group Polka Dot Powerhouse, which is located in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So I'm very excited to have Denise here today to talk about physical contact and touch and how we're communicating about it, how we're being impacted about it today in the world. So Denise, go ahead. How are you doing these days around physical contact and touch?
I'm really I'm a touchy person. So and I'm a hugger. So this whole thing has affected me immensely. I hug my children all the time, and number one, not being able to see them for a number of weeks because I have one child, and my children are out of the house, so they live on their own. And my husband and I are empty nesters, and just the fact that they were nervous that if they hugged us, that we could become ill. Mm. So there was no contact for at least a good 3 months. It was all done via Zoom, and that just really affected me a lot. It made me feel sad and question if they still love me or not, which is weird, right?
Right.
And then with my Tastefully Simple business, of course, everything went on hold because most of that stuff is done in home. Mm-hmm. And so there's no touch involved. There was no interaction, and it all went online, which is fun, but still, it is not. I'm an in-person, get belly to belly, heart to heart kind of being, and that's what I like to do. And so after we started to open up here in Wisconsin, because different states have different things, we were able to adjust some of our meetings, and by the time we opened up, it would have been all of March, April, May, and then we were into the beginning of June when we could open up. And so our particular county allowed us to have anyone who was with the same family could sit together. But when you go into a connections group meeting, like we do with Polka Dot, not everyone is from the same family. So we would have to be 6 feet apart and each person sitting on their own. And so when we first went into the venue, and then I designed a hybrid meeting. And so we had both online people coming in via Zoom, and we had it launched up on a big television to having approximately 11 people in the room. And how that was the weirdest thing ever to go from, and normally when I greet people in a meeting, I hug virtually every single person that walks in that room. That's my acknowledgement of them. That is their acknowledgement of me. And it also gives me their vibe. I'm not an empath that I know of. However, I can feel their energy, and that really invigorates me. And I can also feel where they're coming from that day. So, and that energizes me. So I take on their energy, and then that energizes me, and that energizes the entire meeting. I don't know, Dawn, you've been in a meeting, right? Isn't that kind of the way it feels when that happens? Yeah. And so the first meeting that we had, I felt like I couldn't touch anybody. However, I had a member come in, and she's single and lives alone, and had been alone for all these months, and no one had touched her. And so she started, she kind of broke down in front of me. Well, I had my mask on, and all of that when all that touch went out the window, and I was like, you come here. And I just gave her the biggest hug and held her while she cried, because she was just, it chokes me up right now to even think about it. She was just so craving it and so alone. And I felt that coming off of her. So I just felt it needed to be done. You know, they always say that sometimes your actions or your smile or whatever could save a person's life. Not that I did that day, but I felt it needed to be done. And but then as everybody else came into the room, there was, and she had gotten there early, so everything was calmed down by the time, because I can't share that with anyone, right? And she had calmed down, and then as people came in, it was like, well, hello, hi. And I felt like then the entire meeting, the energy was flat. It just was not there. And so the touch was big. It's big. It's big in our meetings. It's big in how I relate to people. It's just, it's everything. It's everything. And now that we're getting together with family, and it's just our own little circle of friend, our circle of family, my 3 boys, their 3 girlfriends, and we spend time together, we now can hug each other, and they do hang on a little bit longer than they have in the past, because they have missed us. So, yeah.
How do you see yourself navigating this, your meetings in the future, especially since it provides so much energy, since it changes the whole meeting for you and for your participants? How do you think you're going to be, like, do you have an idea of how you want to try to bridge that gap between the energy?
And that's an interesting question, because the first meeting, we have 3 meetings a month. And so the first meeting was awkward, and I didn't quite know what to do, and I didn't, and nobody was hugging, and no one knew whether everybody's kind of like, well, is she going to hug? So everybody's kind of tentative, right? And then the second meeting, which would have been a week later, I was more, it felt better. And so my energy was up, and there were less nerves involved, right? So, and I'm not trying to set up the Zoom and get everything working and work with the speaker and all that kind of stuff. So it seemed a little bit more relaxed. And so then that did bring my energy up a little bit, but yet there was no hugging. There was none of that. So I have to work on just their energy in the room, as opposed to their touch energy. And I think that's how it will work.
So do you feel comfortable then doing things like elbow bumps or handshakes or high fives or anything, just to get a little level of connection?
I think the elbow bumps, and we've been joking too about doing a hip bump, because that is from my era, right? So we used to do a dance called the bump. And there was all these, motions that you would go through when you would hit your hip, and you'd hit the other hip, and you'd flip around, and you'd hit again. And
I love it.
it's disco music from the 70s. So, yeah, so we kind of make light of it now. So, and I did attend a family a bridal shower yesterday, and we did some elbow bumps because we were outside. We were masked, but my brother-in-law is very challenged, and it was my sister-in-law's daughter. And so, niece and sister-in-law, they're living with brother-in-law who is extremely immunocompromised. And so it was just like, I'm not doing hugs today. Yeah. I just don't want to risk any of that. And we've been, and different areas of the country are affected differently. So you just find that East Coast, West Coast, I'm hearing from those managing directors that it's a completely different feeling and kind of scene going on there. Yeah. So.
And navigating the elbow bumps, like, did you ask if people wanted elbow bumps, or did you just kind of offer? Like, how are you doing that?
Yeah, that's kind of what I did. I was like, okay, I'm not, and and it all becomes body language, right? Okay, I'm not hugging, but how about a little elbow bump, And there's always like a little facial thing that goes, and everybody goes, okay, yeah, and there's like winks and all that kind of. It kind of has become extremely animated. You almost feel like a cartoon character, right? Um, and yeah, so I think that's that. And yeah, asking, are you hugging? But the day with that other woman in that, there was just, all I did was go like this and she fell into my arms. So again, it's all body language. But I will, if someone has to have that hug, I will definitely give it and risk that in order to help save them, for sure. Yeah.
So lovely. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. Any other closing thoughts? Anything else you want to mention?
Let's see.
Here?
Yeah, I think communicating, I think and that's kind of what I've been doing with my friends. We'll meet outside, but we're huggers. And so there's no hugging going on. So it feels awkward. It doesn't feel quite complete. But yeah, it's life now. So at least I can hug my husband and I can hug my kids. So I'm getting a little bit of hugging going on in there. Yeah, which helps me a lot. Yeah.
Good. I'm so
If
glad.
I had an animal anymore, I would be hugging it all day long because I would hug my dog even though he didn't like it. But don't have one of those anymore. So yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Denise. So yes, you can find Denise at #thedinner.doctor. And do you have a website that you want to throw out, or any other ways people can connect with you?
Yeah. You can connect me. You can connect with me through the Polka Dot Powerhouse, polkadotpowerhouse.com website, and click on the Eau Claire chapter. I am there. Or you can find me on Facebook. And yes, I am #thedinner.doctor. So search for my name. You can also find out more about my Tastefully Simple products at tastefullysimple.com/web/dbender. Yeah, so.
Well, thank you so much, Denise. Have a lovely day. I look forward to chatting with you and seeing you again at the next meeting.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you for the opportunity. I truly appreciate it.